Welcome into another edition of The Session with Londa and David. My name's David Austin, and sitting across from me, as always, my beautiful blushing bride, Londa Joanne Sherwood Austin. How are you today?
I'm fantastic.
I love this whole thing you got cooking today. It's some kind of long, flowing deal.
Duster situation.
Yes,
I don't know.
With some kind of linen pants.
I don't know.
Lovely.
It's August.
It's lovely.
Thank you very much.
The Session with Londa and David is brought to you in part each and every week by Sherwood Austin Solutions. With over 40 years of combined sales success, Sherwood Austin Solutions can help diagnose and prescribe solutions for any problems in your business. A lot of business consultants only focus on the bottom line, but not Sherwood Austin Solutions. Nay. They take a holistic approach to make sure all of your goals are being met. Call Londa today at 509-491-2663. That's 509-491-2663 for Sherwood Austin Solutions. Whether you have a restaurant and bar, you run sales teams, or you're a salesperson trying to up your goals, Sherwood Austin Solutions can help put the right plan for success in place and help you stay accountable. Call today, 509-491-2663 for Sherwood Austin Solutions. It's a great time to be in business. Why not be in business with us?
Very nice. Slick.
Welcome into the show.
We really do provide solutions, and it's not just to businesses, actually.
Yeah, we were talking earlier this week about people who have a bad attitude in your business. They're kind of a cancer in your business. Yeah. You need to surround yourself with people who bring you solutions, who are there to make things a little bit better. If you can do that, you'll have a successful team.
Yeah. Yep. I don't like complainers.
Yeah.
I mean, bring a problem, sure. But either bring some ideas.
Yes.
Or be open to solutions. This is why I don't, I don't encourage people to have an open door policy.
Right.
In the workplace. I feel like it invites drama.
And it absolutely does.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with, there's an author that I really enjoy. Her name is Cy Wakeman, C-Y Wakeman.
Yes. Love her.
Go follow her on social media immediately. But she's got a couple of books, and her whole thing is reducing drama in the workplace. Right. To recapture those hours of productivity.
Yes.
She's a behavioral therapist and has some really good things to say. And that's where I first got this idea of because open door policies kind of been drilled into my head my whole life.
Yes.
At the workplace. And she's like, not so fast.
I think it depends on what you do, to tell you the truth. For instance, if you're a college professor, college professors often have what are called office hours, and that's kind of a pre-planned open door policy for students. If you need help with a specific topic, you can go see your professor during their office hours.
Sure.
That kind of thing I think is great. But if you're in business and you have an open door policy, if someone is upset and wants to complain, I got news for you. If you make them feel like they can come in at any time, you're going to hear all of the drama for sure each and every time.
Right. And, if you've had an open door policy and want to shift that, then a really great way to do it, this is a really great tip, so listen up, and it works every single time. You have someone who comes in and they're complaining about a coworker. Right? My advice to you is to get that other coworker either in the room or on the phone, on speakerphone, immediately.
Yes.
And this is what you say. Hey, you know what? I feel like I hear you. I hear that you're really upset about this. Let's get a solution right now. And you dial that person up, put them on speakerphone, set the phone in front of the two of you and say, hey, I've got so-and-so here in the office with me. And we've got an issue that needs to be resolved.
Yes.
Here are the ground rules in this conversation. We're all going to have a chance to talk. We're going to keep it respectful, and we're going to focus on solutions.
Right.
How do we get through this? and how do we get to the other side of it so we can work effectively together. And I'll tell you what, you start doing that, and pretty soon people stop coming into your office complaining about their coworkers.
Sure.
And ask me how I know. It's because as a leader, this is what I've done for years.
Right.
Even as a parent,
Right.
that's what I did. Whoa,
Yes.
whoa. You're complaining about your sibling. Let's get them in here. Here's the ground rules. Here's what we're going to do.
I have seen you do this with adult children.
Absolutely. Well, with our adult kids, I mostly just say, hey, listen, I know the skill set that you have, where I'm going to stop you right there. Go talk to them about it.
Yes. I love
because
that.
I'm not part of their sibling drama.
Right.
No, thank you. Yeah. I love each of them dearly. I am fiercely loyal to each one of them, and I can't take sides.
Yeah.
I just can't. I refuse.
It's never a good idea to pick sides with adult children. It's just like when your friends go through a breakup. It's never a good idea to talk smack about the other person, because inevitably relationships ebb and flow.
Right.
And when they get back together, you're the bad guy.
Right.
And then you get dumped by a couple, not just by your buddy.
Right. I mean, this is true, though, in the workplace as well. I mean, even in, you don't... I don't speak poorly about other realtors that I work with.
That's right. And it drives you nuts when you see Facebook posts and other social media posts where people do that.
And I think, what is the value of this, right? I may have someone that I've had a difficult transaction with or a difficult interaction with, but I still believe the same thing I said years ago when I first started real estate. And a seasoned veteran in real estate made fun of me for this, but I still believe it. Everybody's doing their best in this moment. Nobody goes into a situation thinking, you know what I'm going to do? Screw this up.
Right.
Nobody does that.
That's nobody's starting goal.
Right. Everybody's doing their best in any given moment. And I always want to help them, maybe even do a little better. So
I got you.
Take responsibility for your stuff.
I like that. Okay. Not to do a quick turn.
Do it.
Not to Tokyo drift into one.
Let's do
But for anybody who's missed out on this program in the last month, Londa and I have started a radio show in Lafayette, Louisiana. That program's called Austin's on the Air. Let me say that again. Austin's on the Air, and it's at News Talk 98.5. And the reason I say it just that way is because if you're a fan of the podcast, you need to right now open up your phone and download the News Talk 98.5 app for your phone, so no matter where you are in the world, you can listen to Londa and David on Austin's on the Air. And it's really cool because you can hear it in real time between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, or anytime on demand.
Yes.
How do you do it on demand? It was confusing for a lot of our listeners early on.
It was confusing for two of them, but and we love them.
We do. Stop it.
So it is a little goofy though.
Yes.
The app, when you go into it, when you open the app, an ad is going to come up. And then once that ad closes, on the top left-hand side, you're looking for the drop-down menu.
Yes.
And you click podcasts.
Yes.
Then the Talk of Acadiana folder, you should see us there.
Inside of that folder.
Yeah. And sometimes when you open the app, that folder's not there and you just see Austin's on the Air, and sometimes that folder is there. I don't know how it works, but anyway, it's under podcasts.
And
that's
it's
the thing to
News
remember.
Talk 98.5 or the Talk of Acadiana. I'm not sure which it says, but you click on that and then it brings you to the local programming.
Yeah, the important thing to click first is podcasts.
Right.
So it'll be there, and then it should be available. Austin's on the Air should be available via your podcast app.
Yes.
Soon. I'm not sure.
I think the station said it would take about 2 weeks for that to be up and running and live. So you will be able to see it exactly the same places where you get the session with Londa and David. And we're super happy to be able to bring that to you each and every week. And I also want to say thank you to our very first radio sponsor, and that is M&M Services in Lafayette, Louisiana. If you are one of our listeners in the Lafayette area and you need a handyman, M&M Services has been Acadiana's handyman for the last 20 plus years. Mike Flowers and his team can't wait to help you. If you have any problems, big or small, if you have minor maintenance repairs needed, if you have a major renovation, they can help. I'm not going to give you their phone number because that won't help you. You will not remember it. It's bookahandymannow.com. So if you need a handyman and you are in Acadiana, you need to go to Book a Handyman Now and let Mike and his team take it from there.
Perfect.
That's a nice little bonus spot.
Bonus spot.
Little
Yeah, Michael enjoy that while he's
cruising,
setting off for his cruise today.
I think they're leaving right now, in fact.
Yeah, they were fueling up at Cece's Coffee just a few hours ago, getting ready to go. So we wish them a great cruise.
That's exactly right. And if you are someone who we've run into in town and you want to talk to us about your business, you can email Londa at SherwoodAustin.com. That's Londa at SherwoodAustin.com. And we will get you on the air.
Perfect.
Okay, so last week when we finished our show, we talked about a brief conversation we had with one of the kids about work and about
one of our 9 children.
That's exactly right. I brought 2 to the party. Londa brought 7 to the dance, and now it's just a festival of fun.
We say 9, but really there's 6 additional partners as well, and we have grandchildren and all that stuff too.
Myriad grandchildren. I mean, I don't even know how many we have. There's so many. It's crazy. And there's a new one born every 15 minutes, I think.
No, but we were talking to one of the kids, and you said at the end of the last show, we'll do this next show. So here we are. It's the next show.
Well, one of the things that they're confused about, and many people who are out looking for work right now are confused about, is how to know and understand their actual worth in the marketplace.
Sure.
You know, there are some kids that are full of bravado that think they're worth $1 million to start.
Right.
I think when I was a little kid, I felt that way. You know what I mean? When I was in radio growing up while going to college,
right.
I felt
19-year-old little David Austin.
That's exactly right. I felt like by the time I graduate from USL, I should walk into a top 10 market on the air, and at least $100,000. Sure. I felt like I was bulletproof. Well, the good news is that helped me negotiate in every radio job I had until the one I have right now. It helped me understand my value. It made me know that I'm worth some money. You know what I mean? And there's no question. So I think the way you kind of figure out your value is based on your experience and your self-confidence. If you don't have self-confidence, you should read some books and manufacture some, because you will not negotiate the right starting rate if you don't have self-confidence. What are you writing down? It looks like you're putting some notes into the old notebook.
I wrote down what you just said, experience and self-confidence. So if I want to circle back to it or dig in deeper to one of those, I'll remember exactly what you said.
Sure. You know,
I'm a note taker.
I like that about you.
I'm a note taker, heartbreak. No.
And you don't have to have a ton of work history to know that what you
went right past my musical breakout.
Well, that's because it's part of what you do. It's in our lives, that happens all the time.
That's
Either
true.
I'm singing or you're singing, but somebody's singing. Anyway.
David and Londa, a Broadway production.
I often say I don't care for musicals, yet I've been in several, and my life is a musical. Yeah. Every single time I say to myself, no one just breaks out into song. I hear myself breaking out into song at that moment.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Let's circle back to knowing your value.
Yes. Well, what I'm saying is you don't have to have a ton of work experience to know your value. Here's what I mean. If when you were in school, you won a ton of debate competitions, or you maybe going into a job where you can use those skills makes a lot of sense. Sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes
if you want to be an investigative journalist and you were a winning debater in high school, good news. you're on the right track. So knowing your worth has a lot more to do with how you feel about yourself than anything else.
I think you're absolutely right.
We were talking to Sierra, one of the spouses, a few days ago, and she was talking about all the work opportunities that have come her way over the last few years. And that kid has a sense of self that makes her in high demand in the HR field.
Yeah, very valuable.
High demand. She understands it. She gets it. She's self-confident.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's really that simple. And thankfully, every one of our kids has everything kind of dialed in. I can't think of any that don't.
I mean, yeah, I think they're all successful in their own right. They're all productive, members of society. They're, and all that kind of thing. And not to toot our own horn, but, beep, beep. They're great human beings.
Yes.
And they've all coupled up with great human beings as well. So we're very fortunate that way. But I would say you and I have very different experiences.
Sure.
And so I want to touch on this. I feel like you were born with a knowing of who you are that's kind of been unshakable your whole life.
Okay. Expand on that. Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, you had the beautiful opportunity to be raised in a home where your self-worth and your confidence and that sense of who you are was fed.
Yes.
And not all of us had that opportunity.
But every one of your children has. And when I read your book called
Coach Your Kids for Life.
Coach Your Kids for Life, I cried openly when I got to the chapter that talks about being a dream keeper, not a dream killer. And you talked about James, who is actually married to Sierra. That's kind of fun. We talked about James, not we. I wasn't part of the equation at that point. When he was 4, he was running around the backyard chasing a bird.
Yeah.
And one of his older siblings wanted to tell him, James, you'll never catch that bird.
Right.
You can't catch that bird. They're made to be able to escape.
Right.
You can't do it. Stop wasting your time. And you were like, no. Don't
you dare go out there and tell him that.
That's exactly right.
I said, because, I want him to, I said that the world will teach him soon enough what he can't do. And I want his imagination and his own mind and his own sense of self to develop as long as possible, believing that everything is attainable and everything is possible.
And my mother was exactly that way when I grew up and often told me I could do whatever I wanted to do.
Right.
And I just had to do my best. Do your best.
Right. And on the flippity, my upbringing was vastly different.
Yes.
And the majority of what I heard growing up was what I couldn't do, what I can't do, what you'll never be able to do.
And you're so dramatic.
And I just knew from a very young age there was something wrong with me.
That's so sad.
And I didn't know what it was exactly, but I knew I was wrong.
That's terrible.
So growing up like that, I feel like I didn't come into that sense of value and worth and, a real genuine sense of value and worth until, and I'm going to be dead honest.
Yes.
Probably the last year.
The last year?
Of my life, yes.
The last year?
Yes.
Tell me what happened in the last year to bring you there.
Well, I think taking time off from really my life and my work and my everything, I spent 2021 in one health crisis after another, kind of reclusive, a little bit shut down, and going through depression.
Yeah.
For not the first time in my life. Okay. But and a lot of it had to do with the health stuff, but it caused me to pull away and really spend time with myself and with you.
Yes.
and primarily, and it gave me the opportunity to kind of rediscover myself.
I gotcha.
And there's a lot of we worship youth,
right,
in American culture.
Right.
We just do.
Yep.
And I would say, let that go, because there's something magical that happens with age, and that's part of it. If you let it happen, coming into your own a little bit, and so how did I achieve success? Great success, all those years with no real anchor of self-confidence.
I don't understand. Yeah, I can't imagine. Tell me how.
And I think what I did is I hung my hat, if you will, on my successes.
Okay.
Being in sales, I learned really quickly that I was good at sales.
Yes.
I'm super good at sales.
Yes.
And it's because I think I have a very genuine heart about it. I kind of go into it with, listen, let's figure out if this will work for you and can be mutually beneficial or not.
Right.
And I'm trying to, it's like a love match, right? And if it's not, okay, I just move on to the next person.
I gotcha.
But the words that I use and the things that I do are very strategic.
Okay.
And
I almost said manipulative, but strategic is a much better.
No, not manipulative at all. I could be, I guess. And if I had, I had evil in me, it probably
if
would.
If you used your powers for evil.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did have achievement at a very young age.
Yes.
And so I used that.
Okay.
To help me be confident enough to the next step.
Sure.
Because I could look at myself and know there was something wrong with me, but I could look at the numbers, the stats,
sure,
and know that, okay, I might feel, really poorly about myself.
Yes.
But I know I'm doing something right because I can look at the stats and see that achievement.
Yes.
And so I think that's how I developed into a high drive achiever.
I gotcha.
Right? I had to be number one at everything, including mothering. I mean, I was a full-time stay-at-home mom and having, with 7 kids because I wanted to achieve, right? I'm a little bit of an overachiever.
Yes.
And so, I think that you can find, if you don't have your own self-confidence to hang on to, and you're just struggling to find it, because it is something that sort of happens over time and in a moment, and you never know when it's going to really happen.
Yes.
Then you can find something that will motivate you. And for me, it was achievement. For me, a big motivation, and this is actually still true, is when I'm underestimated.
Right. You love that.
I actually
You succeed out of spite.
Yes,
absolutely. I don't think you can sell out our radio show.
I mean, I do. I do. I have in the past. I still do today. I'm very motivated by being undervalued.
Yes.
What's the word? I just said it a minute ago.
Yeah. You like to do things that are not expected of you. You like to break out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when
underestimated.
Thank you. Especially, and I don't know why. Please save your hate mail. But if I'm underestimated by a man in leadership.
Okay.
Being underestimated by a male in a male-dominated field,
yes,
or in a male-dominated environment.
Again, I don't think you can sell out our radio show.
Let me tell you, that's about all I need. So you can find something, and there's actually an activity that I do with my consulting clients,
yes,
that helps them find those motivating factors.
Yes.
And the ones that are like, you can hear the difference when I talk about being motivated by my achievement,
right,
and being motivated by being underestimated. You
yes,
hear the difference of passion in me.
Yes.
And so this exercise that I do with clients gets to, okay, now we're closer, bam, now we hit it, and so.
I like that.
Yeah.
And if you want your employees and your business to learn how you're motivated, you can call Londa today at Sherwood Austin Solutions. That number is 509-491-2663. 509-491-2663.
And please do, because there's nothing that gets me jazzed more than helping a person find out the thing that motivates them and sets them on fire.
And what is your rate for the first time, one-time coaching session for people that have targeted goals and they only want to dip their toe in the water? What's your hourly rate for that?
$500.
$500. There you go. So it's a bargain.
Listen, it is actually. That's the introductory rate.
Right.
And I will meet like a 15-minute get to know you, see if this will work. And that doesn't cost anything.
Right.
But then when we contract, that's going to be $500 an hour. It's just a flat fee. And I've had people ask, well, can you really help me in an hour? I can change your whole life in an hour.
I love that. And I know you can.
I have done.
Will do, can
absolutely.
do.
I can change your whole company in an hour. Like, yeah.
That's bold. That's bold. 509-491-2663 for Sherwood Austin Solutions. It is awesome to deal with people who have answers, not questions.
Absolutely.
But we do ask questions to get to the answer with you.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool deal.
Absolutely.
It's a cool deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. You were going to say
ahead.
something.
I think you're going where I'm going. Go ahead.
I don't know where you're going. No, I'm not going to say anything. What are you going to say? Tell me.
Well, I was just going to say, this idea of knowing your value and your worth, it kind of leads into something that is in a lot of news, a lot of talk right now on social media and news. It's all over LinkedIn.
We talked about it on our radio show, and then 2 days later, it was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal.
Right. So we scooped the Wall Street Journal.
Quiet quitting.
Yeah.
Quiet quitting, which if you listen to our radio show, and many of you have,
and
commented to us, and thank you.
Oh, many of you have, because we just found out on Friday that in the first week of our show, the app streams the numbers were tripled.
More than tripled. More than tripled what they usually get at the station. But it makes sense.
Thank you.
It makes sense, and it's because we are doing a grassroots kind of revival style campaign to get people to the radio station.
There will be a circus tent near you.
There will be a circus tent near you, and we are going to tap you on the forehead and make you feel fully refreshed.
No, we won't. No, but refreshing is one of the words that we've heard.
Refreshing is one of the words that we've heard. We had an email. I had an email this weekend that I forwarded to Londa so she could see from one of our listeners. In fact, it was our very first caller to the show who called in on Tuesday and called in to tell Londa where to go. And that's going to be a new segment, Tell Londa Where to Go. Anyway, he called in because Londa was looking for a breakfast place. Yeah. So we went to Edie's Express. That's what it's called, Edie's Express, for breakfast based on his...
By the time we get off the air, I'm starving. I get up at 4 a.m.
Yes.
We get off the air at 8, and I'm like ravenous.
Yeah, and here's the beauty. If we weren't doing the radio show, she wouldn't eat until about 10 or 11. So it's really bizarre, and I'm just eating at the same time that I always eat because I don't ever get to eat until after 8 o'clock in the morning, so I'm waiting for her foolishly. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but he sent me an email this weekend, younger guy, not a typical looking news talk listener, who said, "Thank you very much. I listen to you every morning and you help me in ways you don't understand."
I love it.
I love it too. And you know what?
It fills my soul.
Now with social media and more immediacy to communicate with on-air talent, the entire time I was on the radio in the 90s and 2000s, there was no way, unless they called the hotline, to communicate with listeners.
Right.
There was no way. Now, my watch vibrates when somebody sends me an email.
Right.
It's the craziest thing in the world. So I love the immediacy of today's media.
Right.
I love the immediacy of it.
Yes. So quiet quitting we brought up on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about, if you haven't heard this, is the idea is that people in the workplace are quiet quitting. And what that means is really they're doing their job and not going above and beyond their job. It's kind of a shift away from hustle culture And it's a shift into having boundaries within the workplace. And it sounds like a healthy thing on one hand, although one of our kids said, quiet quitting at work is killing me because I have to work 10 times harder for the people who've checked out.
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I read an article this morning that talked about, I think Mitch Albom wrote it, and he's a talk show host and a writer, and he talked about how quiet quitting is nothing new.
Right.
And that it's just a phrase, a turn of a phrase to make something that's happened forever.
Right.
Feel new, so that the generation, the new generation,
right,
who is more the largest factor of the workforce is millennials, and this is kind of their thing, and the people that are their little brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Gen Z.
So it was a really good article, actually, and it talked about how people have mentally checked out of work for a long time.
Yeah,
and it talks about productivity studies, and this article said that according to at least one study, the average 8-hour-a-day worker has about 3 full hours of good productivity in him or her, and 5 hours of kind of faking it till you make it, looking off and not doing your thing. And
I would say the same is true of students.
Yes, I would absolutely say the same is true of students.
And Cy Wakeman would tell you, cited a study in one of her books that employees, the average American employee is engaged in, I think it's 2 hours a day of drama, whether that's internal because they're thinking about it and the turmoil, or external. So we're wasting a lot of time at work.
We are wasting a lot of time at work. And here's the thing that that Mitch Albom actually said in his article. He said, if these kids who don't want to put in 1 extra minute of work and want to leave after their shift is over and don't want to exceed that, he said if they're working for 8 hours, that's a net 5-hour gain of productivity over their forefathers.
Right. I don't think that quiet quitting is something we need to worry about.
I don't either.
Because I don't think it's new.
Right.
I mean, I remember as a younger
I think the words
person,
hustle culture, I think that's more new. I think that's super new. And, it's young people also who are talking about wanting to make as much money as they possibly can. I'm hustling. I got a side hustle. I've got to hustle. Quiet quitting is against that.
It is, for sure. And, quiet quitting kind of comes into alignment with another more recent term called slow living.
Yes.
And it really is just about finding balance in your life and kind of taking your life back from your work and realizing your work is a factor of your life, a part of it, but doesn't need to be the whole thing. Now, if you love it and you want to work 16 hours a day, go for it. And so some of it has to do with where you are in life and what your priorities are too. If you're trying to, save money to buy a house, then you're probably working harder. I mean, it just depends, right? There's no one size fits all here.
I got you. I would stick around to do a question of the day, but this entire episode was based around last week's question of the day.
Yep.
So let's give it a little rest. And next week, we will answer more questions of the day. If you want to talk to us about what themes you want us to discuss on our show, you can drop me a line, david@sherwoodaustin.com. That email address again is david@sherwoodaustin.com. And don't forget to download the News Talk 98.5 app, because we have a lot of listeners that do not live in Lafayette, Louisiana, and we don't want you guys to miss a second of what's going on with David and Londa. For Londa, Joanne, Sherwood, Austin, my name's David Austin, and we will talk to you next week right here on The Session with Londa and David. Let's talk again soon.